if you knew how Clive Davis used to torture Luther Vandross. It might make you look at some of those Luther Vandross albums a little different.
Are you in a good place now in your life?
Depends on when you ask me whether or not it's a good place.
Are you happy?
It depends. It also depends on when you ask. Asking right now? No, not particularly.
If you were to come up missing and dead, who did it? Tell us.
Can't tell you who done it. I can tell you who wanted it. And it will most definitely be Clive Davis.
So you think Clive is looking?
Oh, I know he's looking. I know he's worried about me. And he should be.
Why?
He should be very worried about me.
Why?
My dream is that in the next year or two, the 23rd Amendment will pass and will allow Barack Obama to run for a third term as President of the United States.
Jaguar Wright is back again, this time with allegations that are sending shockwaves through the entire music industry. Her latest expose, that legendary music executive Clive Davis is responsible for some of the most horrifying, darkest secrets buried beneath the glitz and glam of Hollywood. And this time, the spotlight is on his alleged involvement in the tragic lives and deaths of Luther Vandross and Whitney Houston. Clive Davis, often hailed as a music mogul who shaped pop culture, rose to fame by discovering and working with countless talents: Whitney Houston, Alicia Keys, Aretha Franklin, and yes, Luther Vandross. But behind the suits, the red carpets, and the multi-million-dollar record deals, Jaguar Wright claims there's a far more sinister legacy at play. According to her, Clive wasn't just a businessman. He was a master puppeteer, controlling lives, exploiting artists, and hiding behind his influence.
We do the full chorus similar to the first time it appears, rather than what it was the second. And that's it. And I think it's a great, another great Jim Steinman song.
Without limousines and nightlife, the record business might be just another assembly line job. Davis knows the difference and uses all the tools. This Hollywood party featured stars like Dionne Warwick and Jermaine Jackson. The gathering was a Davis innovation to introduce one of his newest singers, Whitney Houston.
Do you have artists that are good musically, good songwriters, and excellent performers that never make it, and you wonder why?
Sure, every artist I've signed that hasn't made it.
Davis has always assumed a far more active role than most record company presidents. That's why he was a pioneer in the 60s. It's also why he has survived into the 80s to help lead a resurgence in record sales.
With all the hoopla that's gone on in the last year, that video games would replace music and computers would replace music and records were on their way out, or tapes, it's turned out to be total hogwash. Music is unique, music is special, music has a very individual, meaningful role in society, not only to youth, but to the 25 to 50 age bracket as well. And we have not only survived, but we're flourishing now.
Marriage failed. I opened up myself to the possibility of a person rather than a gender. I have never stopped being attracted to women. So we're now dealing with a subject. This subject is very misunderstood because the old adage is you're either gay, you're straight, or you're lying. It's just not true. And so I spend a few pages.
In your book, you reveal that you were. Why did you wait so long, Clive, to make that public?
I was only turning to after my second marriage failed. When the marriage failed in the mid-'80s, I opened myself up to the possibility that I could have a relationship with a man, as well as the two that I had.
It took Clive Davis 80 years, but the legendary music executive is finally putting something he never has before on record: his Davis reportedly reveals that he's been living a life since the era of Studio 54 in his new memoir, The Soundtrack of My Life. He apparently describes his first encounter with a man as welcome relief and has been open to relationships with both men and women since he split with his second wife in 1985. He's most recently been in a relationship with an unidentified man for the last 7 years. Davis reportedly believes that is misunderstood. He says the adage is that you're straight, gay, or lying, But in his experience, if you called him anything other than it would be inaccurate. He may have kept that secret for 30 years, but it wouldn't be Clive Davis if he didn't want people to hear it.
Clive Davis came out as in 2013 in a rare public confession that many applauded. But according to Jaguar, the media missed the darker undertone. She suggests Clive allegedly used his as a form of control within the industry, particularly on younger, vulnerable stars, one of whom was Sean Diddy Combs.
You were married twice, divorced twice.
Correct.
What you had never publicly talked about was the fact that you'd had a relationship with a man and then several men.
It's not as I write that the heavens opened up, but I realized in my case, the most important thing, I'm relationship oriented, and I would open up my perspective, my life, my emotion, to have a relationship with a man as well as a woman. And so that when it comes to the pure subject of when our marriage was over, I did go through a period of having with two different women and with a male. And so that for me, this very maligned, misunderstood subject came up.
It's been said that people are either gay, straight, or lying.
Correct. I'm not lying, and it exists. For over 50 years, I never had with a male. It wasn't repressed. I had very good relationships with women.
And had you thought about men in that
Never.
way?
Never.
Clive, tell me, did you feel shame when you first started having men?
I never felt shame. No, I never felt shame. I felt puzzled. The subject of really needs much more discussion, because the answer is it's a status that does exist.
So for 13 years, you had a relationship with a doctor, a male doctor.
That's right. Right.
And then you met someone else, and...
Well, I dated. I dated a few women and a few men, and I met a man and that I'm currently in a relationship with.
The two have been together for 7 years, but Davis says he doesn't name him in the book out of respect for his privacy.
Does he go to the Grammy party? I mean, is he part of your life in a full way?
Oh, very much. I mean, he doesn't. Sure he does. Sure he does. Yeah, and if I go with my family take a boat, as we do every year, he goes with, yeah, I mean, definitely. But I think he's private, and I think that that's for him to decide, as far as that. But yeah.
When he writes his book.
If and when he writes his book.
And so, when the books are written about you and the legacy is dissected, what do you hope they say about Clive Davis?
I believe in music. I believe that even in this technologic age where once again they're questioning the future of what music's role is in people's lives, it's a vital part of people's lives. I can't imagine a world without music. And I really wrote it last summer on a boat, a trip that I take with my family, because certainly my prime role in life has been my children. I have 4, my grandchildren, I have 6. And I wrote that part of the last chapter and read it to my 4 offspring. We were on the boat together. And I've always had total love and support and understanding that after my second marriage failed, because I had been 100% up until that point, that I opened myself up after the failure of my second marriage. Having read something about my story was different. I just found that I would open myself up to the possibility of a relationship based on the person and not on gender. And I did after seeing a man or a woman for about a 4 or 5 year period of time interregnum, entered into a relationship with a man. And I just reveal that because that's what the facts were and are. And to the extent, when I was aware, I immediately told my children. My children knew of that. My closest friends certainly all knew because we would take trips together. I would take 3 or 4 trips a year, 2 with family, 2 with friends. We would all do it together. And having turned to it, I learned to see what people's reaction were. It was frankly intimidating in the sense that the adage is true. Nobody believes in it. And you're either gay, you're straight, or you're lying, and that's it. And so, you know, you get tired of not making any progress. And all that I could say is, I'm not martyring myself, I'm not brave, this is not affecting my career to say, this is not affecting my friendships, my professional life, my family situation. But if society is edging forward, as it should, on the subjects of same marriage and a better understanding, and hoping that there's no prejudice, that one could evolve as a society to accept the person as it is, I hope that this revelation or discussion, you know, moves it a step further, and that's all that I want to say on the subject.
Jaguar claims that Clive made Diddy do disturbing things behind closed doors, leveraging his power in the industry to keep everyone silent. And the terrifying part, Diddy allegedly took that same cycle of and passed it on to Usher and others caught in his web of puffy flavor camps.
So no one tells P. Diddy what to do, like?
Absolutely.
Who tells him?
Clive Davis in the beginning. No, he didn't empower him. That motherfucker put his on the block. He gave him power. And all he had to do was diddle-dee-dee and diddle-dee-dum. Like, he wasn't gonna tell Gene and them that's how he was getting the money.
Right.
Let's be real about that. You think he was gonna admit to these we went to school with, who essentially he asked to come to make his G official? Like you heard him say, Christopher Williams, street gangster, Pete Rock, I'll Be Short, they hood. You know what I'm saying? Gene Deal. Like, ain't nobody looking at how Puff positioned himself. There was a wall of protection and talent and brilliance around him. Nobody had to look at him for real, for real. And the truth is nobody did. Everybody laughed and joked about him dancing like a idiot in all them goddamn videos. Twirling around in circles and this been wild, like, you know. So I'm just saying, they didn't know, and he wasn't telling them. They just know he got the budget. He go to LA, he talk to Clive, he come back with the bread. Apparently, he has this man's confidence. Yeah, I'm sure that man was very confident with his in his mouth. You know what I'm saying? Clive is a whole freak.
You think Clive put him on to all
I know. Clive, that's what he do. Queen Clive. Long may she reign in hell.
When 50 Cent...
Don't nobody want to talk about why R. Kelly's bus was parked in Clive Davis's driveway, why his tour bus was parked in Clive Davis's driveway at the house where the down between Chris and Rihanna. Don't nobody want to talk about why it was filled with video girls who were being trafficked. And he was never questioned by Me Too. Why ain't nobody from Me Too saying anything? They had so much to say about Harvey Weinstein, who's now all his charges is being dropped. So much for their investigation. Guess it was a little paper thing.
Now, there's a connection between Diddy and Clive. Back when Diddy was young, he was a vodka promoter. He really didn't have much of a career happening, but he wanted to start a record label. When he met Clive, Clive was rather established, so he was 23 and able to convince Clive to take hip-hop seriously, and Clive actually funded him and helped Diddy build Bad Boys. It's actually speculated that Diddy and Clive were in a relationship based on how quickly Diddy's record label Bad Boys became successful. This person tweeted that Diddy was given his Bad Boy imprint by Clive Davis, who is openly gay. I mean, he says, but what Diddy had to do for riches is not uncommon for successful black men in entertainment and in politics. All that glitters is not gold. Run your race, let the next man run his. Interesting. Now, a lot of people believe that Diddy is the way that he is. I mean, we've talked about him in countless videos at this point because of how Clive kind of groomed him to be this way.
My focus right now is Sean Combs.
Okay. Tell us why. Tell us why.
Because he's a trafficker. And he's using music and entertainment to traffic.
Now, is this just boys, girls, adults, kids? I
mean, from what I've heard from sources that I would consider reliable, it really doesn't matter.
Wow.
I don't think something that has anything to do with gender at this point for Sean. I honestly think he's just an extreme narcissist who loves power. He loves the ability to manipulate and control people. Why? Most likely because he was victimized by his mentor, who loved to control people.
And his mentor was
Andre Harrell.
Tell us how
who was mentored by Clive Davis.
Don't tell me that Andre Harrell got touched by Clive Davis too.
I'm telling you, I don't know what happened between Andre and Clive. What I do know is that Andre got passed over. Like, how do you go from being the president of Uptown and losing your entire company to your intern?
But the most chilling part of Jaguar's claims is Clive's connection to two music legends, Whitney Houston and Luther Vandross. Whitney and Clive were known to be close, at least on the surface. He was her mentor, the man who discovered her and shaped her into a global icon. But Jaguar believes that relationship was far from nurturing. She alleges that Clive controlled Whitney like a product, pushing her to perform, maintain appearances, and remain silent, even as her life spiraled behind the scenes.
You want to know what Clive Davis did for Whitney Houston? While he was busy trying to bring her back. See, people forget, before she came to the United States, he sent her on an international tour. And she went out on tour, and she was still getting high at the time. You know, let's see. What happens if I put in Whitney Houston, Kazakhstan?
That's where she went? She was down in Kazakhstan? Oh, man.
This was not long before she passed away.
I think I know what you're about to
here's the
pull
full
up.
concert. She only did 4 songs.
Yeah, I think I know you. I think I remember the voice.
Huh?
Yeah, I remember you with the voice. I know you're about to go with this. I think I remember this.
Not just the voice.
Just everything.
The whole show. Look at it.
Oh, ouch.
Straight to commercial.
Yeah, I see that. It's definitely
It'll make you cry if you really love music and if you really love Whitney Houston. And then after a couple of joints, you will find it hilarious. Not because you're happy that she's falling apart. It's just she's doing the crackhead antics so dope. You know what I mean? She was in it. Huh? Nigga, what is my key? Like she's in front of the president of Kazakhstan.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
But it was good enough to get that check though. And then he put her in rehab to clean her up right before it came time for America, because she had to at least appear sober in America for the Whirlwind story. And then they brought in R. Kelly to do that song for her. That she had to use auto-tune to sing because her lungs were so jacked up from all the smoking. And you know, a lot of people didn't know she was a heavy smoker. She was a chain smoker. She smoked 3 packs of Newport today. And still could sing like that. But when you add in the cocaine or the crack, and then the this and that, and then when they did her autopsy, they said there was nothing wrong with her throat. Her lungs were so damaged that she couldn't fuel the notes. It was her lungs. It wasn't, her voice was fine.
Oh.
That's how Clive did it. And then the next thing you know, she's Ray J. And then it's Grammy time.
That happened.
And her and Clive had a fight 2 days before. And from what I was told, Bobby Christina was present for some of that fight. And then the next thing you know, she's dead. Ray J was the last person to see her alive. He let the drug dealer in, but she was sober, right? But he let the drug dealer in that gave her the shot. Leola has said, Leola Brown, Bobby Brown's sister, has said on several occasions that she was beaten. They saw her body. She didn't just die in a tub, like she was beat up. And Brandy was the one that found her. But you know, they pledge allegiance to Clive too.
Jeez.
Well, you know, Ray J was kind of down on his luck because the whole that happened, and then, you know, Whitney was dead and he was using her, as he's said himself, for clout, and then all of a sudden he got Love and Hip Hop LA after Whitney died. And then they inappropriately put her stupid goddaughter on there. Yeah. I just thought it was all kind of cheesy. Yeah, so now I probably won't be watching the movie just because I know whose money the proceeds are going to, and him royally, and for inventing Diddy. You for that. For letting that out of control whack whoremonger and sodomite just run rampant all over this goddamn. You for that. Like Andre was different. Andre had class. Andre had some integrity. But no, you go to get the little Chucky doll.
And on the night Whitney died, Clive threw his annual pre-Grammy party at the same hotel where her body was found. Instead of mourning or canceling the event, Clive continued the show, stating that this is what Whitney would have wanted, but many found it disrespectful, chilling even, especially as Whitney's lifeless body lay just floors above the celebration. Wright insists that these weren't just parties. They were eerily similar to Diddy's infamous freak-offs, and Whitney, who allegedly had witnessed too much, was finally silenced.
You were, I think, going to go to the Clive Davis party.
Yes.
It was a surreal event where Whitney's body was still in the hotel, and there was this sort of party where apparently half the room were in tears, the other half were kind of partying. What did you feel about that?
I thought that was complete insanity. And knowing Whitney, I don't believe that she would have said, the show must go on. She was the kind of woman that was stop everything. I'm not going to be there. You know, I don't know what could motivate a person to have a party in a building where the person whose life he had influenced so enormously, and whose life had been affected by her. So they were like, I don't understand how that party went.
I had Clive Davis by pure chance in here on Friday night with Jennifer Hudson, and he obviously worshipped Whitney, and I think he must have gone through agony when he heard this news, knowing it was 2 or 3 hours till this event.
Right.
And I think he took the decision to turn it into a tribute to her. And I understand that. I mean, he obviously was wrestling with the right thing to do.
That would have been right if it really was a true tribute, and you know, and a true tribute, you know, might have been a truer, a more honest tribute in my opinion, would have been maybe call everybody together, let's say a prayer, and let's eat dinner and go home.
What is your?
I couldn't get dressed. I was supposed to go to the party.
I just got off a plane from Miami at about 5:30. As soon as I hit the tarmac, I found out, I heard, and I couldn't put on makeup, I couldn't get dressed, I couldn't do anything. I was paralyzed. I couldn't do it.
Then comes Luther Vandross, the velvet voice of R&B. Jaguar now claims that Clive Davis had inappropriate relations with Luther as well, something that haunted Luther behind the scenes. According to Jaguar, Luther knew about Whitney's struggles and had tried to warn her about the machine she was caught in, and for that, she believes he paid the ultimate price. Wright boldly states that Clive got rid of him too, connecting both tragic deaths to the same puppeteer pulling the strings behind the scenes.
I think that the deaths need to be investigated. I just learned that Luther Vandross got deleted trying to save Whitney, allegedly. It's funny, when he lost weight, he died.
If you knew how Clive Davis used to torture Luther Vandross, it might make you look at some of those Luther Vandross albums a little different. You know, like even when we did One's Gotta Go, I went back and I listened to what I had to say about Prince and Michael Jackson, and I tripled down on that. If it could have spared him being a victim, that music. You know, we shouldn't have to naturally expect as artists that we're gonna have to be victimized to get ahead. How does something that God gave us that brings so much joy end up in such all the time?
Whitney Houston. Can we take a look at that? Let's roll that.
My dad. I'll see you later. I'll see you later on. Mom, come see her. Come say hi to Come say hi to your godfather. Okay? Come say hi to your goddad.
So, just to sort of talk about what's happening.
During the period that I recorded it, there were great songs. When they take that particular song and makes it their own, that's a true artist. And that's exactly what Luther did. When he played A House Is Not a Home for me, I was the first one to hear it before the record company even heard it. And he says, well, what do you think? He was very, very nervous. And I had to let him know, as I called Bert and I called Hal, to let them know this is the definitive version of A House Is Not a Home. I mean, it was just magnificent. He took that song and made it Luther Vandross. It's wonderful. You know, that's what made Luther stand apart from any other artist.
Living with this, living with these thoughts, living with this, feeling of the last chapter of a book.
Do you feel and know that you're different than you were before the stroke?
Yes.
Yeah. Do you feel a sense of sadness about what has happened, or do you feel a sense of joy that you lived?
I'm somewhere in between.
Mm-hmm.
I feel a sense of sadness and joy. Mostly sadness, though.
Sadness about
what I've experienced.
Mm-hmm.
If I could get another chance to dance with my father again.
Did he struggle with the idea of coming out publicly? Was that something that you talked about at all?
But he wasn't going to come out and say this to the world. And he had a lot of lady fans.
Are you in a good place now in your life?
Depends on when you ask me whether or not it's a good place.
Are you happy?
It depends. It also depends on when you ask.
So what do you think? Is Clive Davis responsible for the deaths of two of the greatest voices in music history? Let us know in the comments below. And if you like this video, hit that subscribe button so that you never miss out on any new videos. Until then, fam, keep it real.